Welcome back to Tech Stack for all you tech enthusiasts. In this video, we'll cover control flow statements in Angular 21, including if and for. We're control flow statements. Control flow statements let us change the execution flow of our code based on conditions or loops. They help us render content dynamically in our templates. Before Angular 17, we used structural directives like ngIf and ngFor to achieve this. In Angular 17, if and for control statements are introduced. Now, with Angular 21, we use the new if and for syntax. ngIf and ngFor are depreciated in Angular 21. We'll see how to use if-else statements with if, how to use for loops with for. Before moving ahead, as you know, Angular recently released Angular 21. We are covering Angular 21 from scratch, so if you're a beginner or intermediate, this series will be highly recommended for you. We have also provided the Angular 21 playlist in the description for easy access. First, open your Pages folder in the integrated terminal. Next, create a new component called Control Flow. Now, let's add a route for our control flow component. Open the app routes.ts file. Inside the routes array, add a new entry. Next, let's make the control flow page accessible from our navigation bar. Open app HTML, and inside the navigation bar, add a new link. Finally, let's run our Angular project to see everything in action. Open your terminal and type ngserve. This will start the development server. Once it's running, open your browser and go to localhost 4200 to see your app, including the new control flow page in the navbar. As you can see, the control flow page is now working correctly. Now, open the control flow components HTML file. Here, we're going to apply the if control flow statement. We'll display a checkbox and a text field. The idea is simple. If the checkbox is checked, we show the text field. If it's not checked, we hide it. Along with the checkbox, we'll display the text show text box. Now, create a Boolean field called isShowText and set it to false. We'll bind this Boolean value to the checkbox, so when the checkbox changes, this value updates automatically. We'll use ngModel for two-way data binding. For that, add forms module to the imports array. Now, in the HTML file, bind the checkbox to the isShowText variable using ngModel. Now, we'll use the if control flow statement. If isShowText is set to true, we display a text box. If it's false, the text box stays hidden. This way, the input field appears only when the checkbox is checked. Remember, control flow statements always start with the @ symbol. That's how Angular knows we're using the new control flow syntax, not the old structural directives. As you can see, on page load the checkbox is unchecked because the variable value is false, so the text box is hidden. When we check the checkbox, the text box appears. If we uncheck it, the text box is hidden again. This is a simple example of the if control flow. It renders HTML based on a condition. Now, let's look at another example. Show button labeled toggle. Now, we will display two labels on the page. One label will show success with the label success class, and the other will show error with the label danger class. This will help us see both states clearly on the page. Now, we will create a function called toggle label visibility. This function will be bound to the toggle button, so every time we click the button, it will switch the labels between success and error. Next, we will bind the toggle label visibility function to the button's click event. This way, whenever we click the toggle button, the function will run and switch the labels accordingly. We will handle this using a signal variable. Let's create a signal called showSuccessLabel and set it to false initially. This signal will help us control which label is displayed when the button is clicked. Now, in the toggle label visibility function, we will toggle the signal value. Oops, the signal we created is read-only, so the set function is not available. To fix this, we will make it a writable signal instead. This way, we can update its value inside the toggle label visibility function. As you can see, the set function is now available. This will switch the value of showSuccessLabel between true and false each time the button is clicked, updating the label on the page automatically. Now, we will apply if and else to the labels. If showSuccessLabel returns true, it will display the success label. Otherwise, it will show the error label. This way, the correct label will appear automatically based on the signal value when we click the toggle button. As you can see, the label changes each time we click the button. Now, we will handle multiple if and else conditions. This allows us to render different content based on multiple scenarios, not just a single true or false case. Now, create an input field for age. We will use this input to apply multiple if and else conditions based on the entered age. Now, create a variable called age and set its initial value to 0. Now, let's bind the age variable to the input field using ngModel. This way, whenever the user types a value, the age variable will update automatically. Now, display 3 spans on the page. 1 for child, 1 for young, and 1 for old. Now apply the if condition. If the age is less than 18, it will display the child label. This is our first condition in the multiple if and else flow. Next, we add an else if condition. If the age is greater than 60, it will display old. This allows us to handle another case in the same control flow block. Finally, we add the else block. If none of the previous conditions match, it will display young. So now, based on the entered age, only one label will be shown at a time. Now, let's format the code to make it easier to read and cleaner to look at. Proper formatting helps us understand the control flow clearly and keeps the template maintainable. As you can see, when the age changes, everything works correctly. The correct span is displayed based on the entered age. Now, we will handle for, which is the replacement for ngFor. This allows us to loop over arrays and render elements dynamically in Angular 21. Now, let's create an array of courses. It contains Angular and React. We will use this array with for to display each course on the page. Now, we will use for to loop through the courses array. Inside a UL, we will use li. This will render each course as a list item on the page. Let's look at how this for loop works. We are looping over the courses array. For each item in the array, a new element will be created. Inside the li, we use interpolation with item to display the value of the current course. The track index part will help Angular keep track of each item efficiently while rendering. As you can see, the courses are displayed correctly on the page. Now, let's add some BR tags to give a bit of spacing and improve the layout. For iterating over dynamic data, we use a loop. This allows us to render multiple elements based on the data in an array or collection. Now, let's create a department list array with objects. We will use this array to demonstrate looping over objects with for. Now, we will create a table to display our department list. We start with the table element. Inside the T-head, we have a single row TR that will act as the table header. This row contains two header cells: ID, which will display the department ID, name, which will display the department name. These headers will appear at the top of the table and label the columns for our data. Now, we will place the for loop inside the T-body of the table. For each item in department list, a new TR will be created. Inside the row, item ID will display the department's ID. Item name will display the department's name. This setup will render all departments dynamically in the table body. As you can see, the data is now displayed correctly in the table. For a better look, we will apply the table class, which adds styling and spacing to make the table more readable. Now, the table is looking perfect. If you're passionate about learning new technologies, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tech Stack, and keep learning new skills. Thank you. And remember, consistency is the key to success.